And then I'm gonna throw it over to them.
Oh,
Hi, everyone.
hi, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. We're so excited to see you. My name is Bethany. I'm an education support specialist with Serger.
And I'm Sonny, and I also work with Serger, and I'm so thrilled to be here.
Yes.
So
if you are new to one of our classes, we welcome you. But just so you know, we've been doing these for a little while now.
Yeah,
So you started the first one in March.
In March, yeah.
And then I started doing them in July.
Right.
And then we've been doing them pretty consistently since then.
Yeah.
And in the new year, we're going to be doing one every month.
Every month.
So we're really excited about getting on that routine with Michael's, but this is our last one this year.
Yeah.
This is it. It's kind of hard to believe that it's almost Christmas and it's here at the end of the year, but we have a really fun holiday project for you today. We're going to make these little bottle gift bags.
Yeah.
So how cute are these? We have two different ones. You should have the instructions with you. Be ready to take some notes, whether you're sewing along with us or not. Again, like she said, this is being recorded. So if you are not sewing along, but you want to save this for later, just watching today, it will be available on Michael's YouTube channel tomorrow, and then on their website in about 48 hours from today. So,
and I think Bethany, with the instructions, we're going to talk a little bit, like give them a couple options today. So that's why make sure
take some notes.
Take some notes, because I think you guys will, there's always more than one way to do something. So you're going to get a couple different ways today.
So I'm going to show you a slightly different way to do the cuff like this than I put in the instructions, because it's just good to learn something a little different than, we're just going to try something a little different today. So we'll get to that in a minute, but I believe we want to kind of know where you're watching from. And if you recall, 2 weeks ago, I did a demonstration class where I just introduced a Serger sewing machine to this audience with Michael's. So if you missed that class and you've never really used a Serger before, I highly recommend going back and watching that class before you start this project. It's a great overview of some of the things a Serger sewing machine can do. The one that we're sewing on today is the Serger ProFinish. It is available at Michael's and michaels.com. This is a fantastic Serger machine. Yes. We've been having fun using it, preparing for this class. So definitely some of the techniques that we learned 2 weeks ago in the class that I did, we're going to be applying to this project today. So this is a great beginner project.
Great way to get started with serging. And also, gosh, Bethany, we love this little project, and it's a great last minute hostess gift, everyone, meaning if you are at a point where you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to go somewhere, tomorrow, you can do this.
Or the neighbor shows up with a gift and you weren't planning on gifting something. You're like, oh, here.
This is a really great thing.
Good to have on hand, great to gift. And if you make a couple of extras, you can use them in your own home to decorate with. And that's what I do.
Decorating with them, so that's cool.
I do. And we are making these with fleece.
Right.
Now, this was your recommendation to use the fleece. So besides it being soft and cozy.
Yeah. So with fleece, everyone, not only does fleece work great with a serger, it has a little give. So fleece is kind of like soft and it'll stretch a little bit. So you don't have to be quite as precise with your measurements. You can make it this specific size that Bethany has in the instructions. But if your bottle, that you are gifting is a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, it just lends itself to it. So that give is really nice. And again, it also, fleece is fun. It doesn't fray, so it's a lot easier to work with. I mean, there's a lot of great things you can do.
And it comes in a lot of colors and patterns and prints. We went with some little Christmassy colors today, but I feel like you could really do this for any holiday or any season, not just Christmas. So, all right. So I think we're going to get started. If we don't have any questions, I want to just quickly let you guys know that we have Amy Mulroney here in the studio with us behind me. And she's here to help answer any questions in the chat related to Michael's and the machines and products that we're using. And then we
Yep.
also have Meredith here with us as well. She's a part of our Singer company, and she's going to be helping answer any serger and sewing related questions. So
Yeah,
they're going to be
that's
helping
great.
you in the chat, but if there's something that we need to repeat, they'll definitely let us
They'll
know,
let us
and
know,
we'll
yeah.
take care of that. So.
Definitely. All right.
All right, you ready?
So I think we're ready, Bethany. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with this particular bottle bag that
We're gonna make
has
two.
We're making two. Yeah, we are.
That's
gonna
how
make two
fast and
today.
easy
These
these
are
are.
fast. Yeah. And this one has a rolled edge at the top. And that's what we're going to start with, because this probably is the fastest one.
Yes.
It's doing a rolled edge. So what I am going to do is I'm going to get my glasses. I remember them today, and we're going to go over to camera 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to set up for a rolled edge. All right, everyone. So the first thing with a rolled edge is, and we made these, Bethany had these really, let's see if I can get that in the right place. Really cute little
Little dry erase easels.
Yeah, these little easels to work with. And for a rolled edge, we are going to take out the left needle and put in and leave the right needle in. Okay, so that's really important. And this is one of those things that it's written in your instructions, but as Bethany said, you might want to take a note here or there.
Or
So
take a little screenshot if you're on a mobile
screenshot,
device or something.
yeah.
You take a little screenshot of this because it's
Definitely.
got all the settings listed right
Yeah.
there. It's also in your instructions.
It is in
written
the
instructions.
instructions. Yep. So we're going to use the right needle, the upper looper tension. So when we talk about these upper looper, lower looper, this is going to be the tension. So the right needle is going to have a normal tension. The upper looper is we're going to take the tension a little bit lower, and then the lower looper, we're going to make it higher. So that's really, really important. The stitch length, we're going to bring close together. Differential feet at normal. And there's one thing that, you know, Bethany, I forgot to mention this. We also want to take the stitch finger and go to the R
Yes.
position. So I'm going to talk all about that here. And if you are doing something, the decorative thread is going to be in the upper loopers. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out, and I wanted to do this on camera with you guys. We're actually going to take out the left needle and use the right needle. Why I wanted to do it on camera with you is I'm going to unscrew this. Notice, I know it's probably pretty hard. Maybe if I can zoom in just a little bit for you. I've got both my fingers there. I did not take the thread. I did not clip the thread out of the needle yet, because notice how I can hold on to it and my needle doesn't like drop down into my machine. I had that happen. That's why I love to leave that thread in the needle when I'm taking out a needle. So that is really important. And then I'm just going to pull that through. I know my hand is in the way, everyone, at that point. But there's my my needle thread. I'm going to actually trim it above and just pull that through, because I don't really, I will sometimes pull threads back, but it's better if you actually pull it through like I just did there. So hopefully now I'm going to zoom back out a little bit now. And Bethany, it's hard for me to see. So if
That's
I
good,
if
yeah.
I need to move my camera a little bit, please
Yeah.
let me.
I sure will.
We talked about the tensions, so I'm using the right needle. So that tension, I'm going to leave that normal. The upper looper, I'm going to just take it a little bit less. I'm not going to take it super low. And then my lower looper, I'm going to take really high. So normal on the Singer ProFinish is around a 4. So I'm going to leave this around 4, take this down to 3, and take this guy down, or up to, 8. And the stitch finger, this is a little thing right here. There's a little lever that is an R and then just a normal, and I'm bringing it to the R. So that guy's right here. So I move my stitch finger, and then remember we said the stitch length. The stitch length is over here, but you want to take that low as well. So take it down to, in our case, F for fine. So we have it on nice and fine, but on some other machines, you might take it to a 1 or something like that. So those are all your settings, guys. Really important that you remember that.
And as we were talking before, the settings that we're using on this particular model serger might be a little different
Little
for
different,
your
yeah.
serger if you're not sewing on the same one that we are.
Right.
So you do kind of, it's good. We did a lot of scrap
We
fabric
did.
tests to make sure.
I'm just gonna pull this. So there's
Yeah.
our scrap fabrics, right? Testing everything we were doing.
Yes,
today.
yes.
So you
It's
do.
important to do that before
Yeah.
you start.
It definitely
constructing.
is. So now all I'm gonna do, we said this was gonna be fast. I am sewing the rolled edge. I'm actually sewing it on the short ends. So I should have mentioned this. We've got this, I can't go out any further than this, but we've got two, a long piece of fleece and we've got two short edges. So we've got two short edges.
And that's
here.
gonna be the top of the bag.
And that's gonna be the top of the bag, and that's what I'm gonna do my decorative stitching on.
And I love that you chose a kind of like a reddish
Contrasting color,
color
right?
for that decorative
Yeah.
edge.
Contrasting color. And do that. Back up. And one of the things, now, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I started, I was getting, and I said this to Bethany yesterday as we were practicing, I was getting a little gunky, messy look to that. And then I started sewing and I adjusted my upper looper tension back to 4. Guess what? The beautiful thing about sergers is I can cut that right off.
It's got that blade on
So
the
I'm gonna
inside, so
cut
if you
this
don't
little
like
bit
it,
off.
you can just sew a new one and
I'm
trim it
just
off
gonna
at the same
trim it
time.
And it isn't super critical, the size of the bag. So I can just trim that off. And I will tell you, I love that about sergers. And also, do you notice, actually, guys, how this is doing a little lettuce edge? On purpose, I kind of pulled it, so it has this pretty little finish up there at the top. So look at that, that's just lovely. So
So when we do both sides and we construct it together, it'll
Right.
have that little wave at the top of the bag.
exactly, so I'm going to, and the other thing, I don't know if you can see, hopefully you can see right in here. I am cutting, I really believe that when you're doing a rolled edge, you need to trim off just a little bit. Because that's going to make a nicer finish for you. So I'm going ahead again, check that out, that nice little roll right there at the top, a little bit of finish. So very, very easy. And Bethany, I know I've said this, but I just want to remind everybody, I left my my needle tension at normal. My upper looper, I ended up leaving it normal and then taking my lower looper really high. And that's what allowed me to have this pretty piece.
And these settings can vary based on the thread, based
Exactly.
on the fabric. There's a lot of
Yeah.
variables. That's why we say go low, go high, but know that you may have to adjust it
Adjust
based on what you're working with.
right, and that's why we did our little practice and
Yes.
messed around a little bit. And also, if you do use decorative threads, there are threads that are like very special, woolly nylons. If you use metallic threads, different things like that, your tension will have to change. So don't be scared to change your tensions, guys. It is not the wrong thing to do. It's
And on
actually
the-
the right thing
On
to
the
do.
rolled hem,
Yeah.
you want to put the decorative thread in
In
the
the upper
upper
looper, because that's what's showing. So decorative thread in the upper looper. So, all right, Milan, we're gonna go to camera 3 now, as I'm
Yes.
gonna hand this over to Bethany. And we'll
So
be
now
able
it's my
to,
bag to construct.
yeah, so now Bethany's gonna construct that, and that's really cool.
I'm just gonna line up my top edges here with what she just sewed. Again, this is folded in half. And we just have to sew down the 2 sides. And let's start, I'm gonna start at the top. Now I'm sewing on the same serger, same model and everything, but I have mine set up for a 4-thread cover stitch. So I have all 4 threads in here. I'm just using white so you can see it. You're not gonna see it when the bag is done anyways, but you can use the same color that you already have in for your decorative stitches. It doesn't really matter, but we are gonna use all 4 threads. And for a simple cover stitch, I have them all the tension set to 3. You can set them all to 4, it just kind of depends, but I have them all set to 3 for today's demonstration. And you can, if you need to, because this does have a little give and stretch, if you need to clip and use some clips or pins down the sides, you can, but just make sure that you take them off before it gets through the serger. That's not a good idea to try to serge over a needle.
It's really bad.
Really bad. So again, I'm going to lift, my foot is down. And we talked about this 2 weeks ago in my demonstration class. My foot is up and now it's down. You don't have to lift the whole foot. You can just, it's got a spring right here and you just slide it right in. So I'm kind of showing you from a different angle. That stitch finger that Sonny was talking about, it's right here. So I know you could see it from her angle, but I just wanted you all to see it from this angle, okay? And then I'm just going to sew down this side. And I'm going to sew a little bit on. And I'm going to stop and drop my needle because I want to make sure that my stitches don't come undone. There's a couple of ways that you can do this, but I've got my needle down. I'm going to turn this a little bit so you guys can see it better.
And Bethany, people asked this last time.
Yeah, they
right?
did. So I'm
this
going
is
to
another
demonstrate
way
it.
to show.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we've got our needles down. My foot is down. I'm going to lift my foot and I'm going to pull my threads kind of up my tail that I started with, up and under. You don't want to pull too hard that you're pulling the fabric, but you want to take the tail and bring it back to the front so that it stitches it in with your stitches. We're going to put the foot back down and now it'll catch those stitches, and that's how you're going to close off your stitches at the beginning of serging. There's not a back stitch on a serger like a regular sewing machine. So this is how we're going to kind of tie off our stitches so they don't come undone. See, I am cutting off just a little bit, and then we're going to get to the end, and then at the end I'm going to lift my needles this time, and I'm going to pull on the threads a little bit and just give myself a little slack here. Lift my foot. I'm going to pull the fabric off of that, what did you call it?
Stitch finger.
Stitch
Yeah,
finger
that's
that we were
where-
talking about.
yeah.
Yes, the stitch finger, and I'm going to bring it around, flip it over,
Yeah.
and lift and slide it right back up under here. And we're going to stitch right back over that. I'm going to put my foot back down. And you'll see I'll stitch, and then I'm going to turn this and stitch right off the side. And that's how we close off our stitch on the other end. Yeah. And I can trim it right there, and it's closed off on this end, and it's closed off on this end. Easy peasy. So now we just have to do the other side. So I'm going to flip it over real quick. And I'm just going to do it again really quick, and you guys can kind of watch along.
And Bethany, there are other ways of doing this. Like we talked about last week, you had said you can always run the thread back through with a needle, or you can use a phrase stop or something like
Knot
that.
it off.
But knot it off. I personally find that this is the most secure, and it really is going to, if something is going to get a lot of use, like T-shirts or sweatshirts or different things like that, this is a great way to finish stuff off.
Needles up, little slack. Pull it off the stitch finger.
That time I could even hear it come off
Yeah,
the
make
stitch
sure it got
finger.
all the way
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll line it back up. Just trim it right, so now we have our finished edge here, and on the other side, there we go. So now we want to what's called box our bottoms.
Now, I have to say, the first ones that I did like this, Bethany, I did not box the corners. And when I saw you do it, I'm like, oh man, I should have done that. So that's really great.
This is how we
So
level up.
Yeah,
We're
this is
taking it
a
up.
great technique.
So
Being
I'm
able
going to
to
pull
do
this back a little bit so you all can see this. There's a couple ways, but I like just going to make a puppet. We're just going to make a little puppet here, and see, we're just going to pinch our corners. Hello. We're just gonna pinch our corners together. And once we get our corners together, you kind of fiddle with it, you know, just, you want to make sure that they're even. Want square bottoms. Yeah. And this is just gonna make the bottle sit in the bag so much nicer.
And
This
I-
is
I was
not
gonna say,
necessary.
Bethany, you might
but
want to
this is
show,
the look we're
that's
going
what we're
for.
going for,
Okay.
yeah, which is really great.
It looks so
It looks
professionally
professional, yeah,
done. Yeah. So this is how we do that. We're gonna take it and we're gonna make little triangles here. Same on both sides. Fiddle. There we go. So we have our points, and I'm gonna take a ruler and I'm gonna measure down 1 inch from that point. And the only marker I have with us today is my dry erase marker that I used earlier. So we're gonna use that.
Normally you wouldn't use a dry erase, would
No,
you?
but we're gonna cut it off anyway.
That is
so.
true, that is true.
So I'm just gonna mark this little spot here. And you can get a ruler and go all the way across. I'm having to hold it up to show you, so that's why I'm doing it a little different. And then I'm gonna flip it over and do the exact same thing on the other side and mark it. Okay. Now that I have my marks, I'm going to fold this side back, okay? We're gonna sew all the way across here. And when we do that, our blade is gonna cut this little tip off, and it's just gonna have a stitch straight across, just like this stitch, a cover stitch, okay? But we gotta make sure that this side is folded back. We don't wanna cut both at the same time and sew them together, okay? So I'm gonna bring this in closer again. I'm gonna lift my foot and line that up with the blade, okay? You kind of slide it up under that blade a little bit. You can do that if your needle is up. So you want to make sure that your needles are up to get up under that blade. And my foot is still down, and we're just gonna. Here's my little cap, my corner that came off. And I'm gonna flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Now I could finish off my ends like I did before, but it's okay. It's on the inside.
Yeah. If it's gonna be on the inside, I don't even worry about that.
So now we have our two ends here. Now you can pull these and do a little knot or whatever. Yeah, just simple little knot it off. But that's our little square bottom. So what we're gonna do now is turn it right side out. See our little square bottoms? How
that's
good that turned
great.
out. I don't have all 4 fingers in there. There we go.
Yeah.
Now you can kind of see how it, hello. I feel like I'm making a sock puppet.
Yeah.
And then this is our little decorative edge, and our bag is done. How easy was that?
That is so fast.
We just did one whole bag in
Yeah.
like a few minutes. I mean, we took a little longer to explain things,
Yeah.
but
And then you also
Then
have
I
just a
needed
little
some
bit of
extra
ribbon.
bottles and I didn't have them, but at the end, I like to tie a little bow.
Just with some ribbon,
Yeah, just
right?
like we did on
So,
this red one right here.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a little crooked, but yeah.
Use
Tie a
your-
little bow, do some fun little decorative bows or ribbons. I think
Yeah.
you can get all sorts of ribbons at Michaels and Michaels.com. I have a ton of their ribbons I love to use. So this is just a little sheer pink one. I mean white one. So yeah, so we did that whole
That's it.
thing.
That's great.
That was super
I-
fast.
You know, Amy, as we're going along here, have there been any questions so fast
I'm
and
gonna go back to
easy?
camera one real
Yeah,
quick.
go to camera one if we would.
I'm gonna clean up my mess.
And yeah,
There
there
we
we
go.
go. So, yeah, we just want to make sure, I hope you guys, so that was step one, right? That was the quick, fast.
Yeah.
We did that in,
I feel
10
like you can have
minutes,
these
so-
cut and then you set your machine to a rolled edge
Yeah.
and you do all the edges and then you change your machine to the 4 thread and you construct them all and
Yeah.
you're done. And you can crank out so many of these to have ready on hand for, like you said, those last minute
Yeah.
gifts that you need to give.
And I think the other thing was something like this, and we're gonna go on and Bethany's gonna show you
Yeah.
the cuff to decorate it up a little bit more, but let's say you don't have any extra fabric, but you do have like threads, you could use, I'm gonna show you how to do a flat lock. So we're gonna do that in a minute, but you could use decorative stitches on your machine, things like that.
On your serger.
On your, well,
On
but the flat lock on the
Yeah,
serger, but
yeah.
decorative stitches from your
Sewing machine, yeah, absolutely.
So you could decorate that as well if you wanted to. So
Yeah.
if you are using decorative stitches on the sewing machine,
Yeah.
I would recommend that you use a stabilizer behind.
Yeah.
So
So
it
we have a
doesn't-
whole class
yeah,
where we
exactly.
did talked about stabilizers.
Right, so
I think in October. So
yeah.
when
Anyway.
we were doing those.
I hope you guys
Yeah.
tell us if you thought it was cool, because I thought it was really cool.
I love them.
All right.
So now we're going to take it up a notch. I wanted a couple of ways to finish these. So this is a great way. I love this look, but I don't know about you all. I have so much scrap fabric. I showed Sonia yesterday when she was at my house. We have so much scrap fabric I have 2 bins full. So this is a great way to use some of that scrap fabric. And I just went through my little Christmas scraps and I thought this is super cute. So I wanted to add a little cuff and it just folds down. And it's all constructed again with the serger.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
Same concept, just a different way to finish it. But to do this, we're going to go back to camera 3 and I'm going to show you all how to do this. I already have my piece here set up. I'm folding my right sides together.
And you have this in the instructions, right?
Yes,
The
this is
sizes
in
are
the
in the
instructions. I'm going
Okay.
to show you a slightly different way
Okay. All
to
right.
do it. Now, I'm going to sew across. I have it folded lengthwise, but I'm going to sew down the short sides first. I'm going to leave this open, okay? And we're just going to use that same cover stitch. I believe this one was a little longer, but we can cut it off when we need to. I'll show you guys how to do that. Let's see here. Sewing down that one. And we're going to sew down this side as well. I've sewed down both sides, and now I'm going to turn it right side out. Those nice, crisp, clean corners. I'm just going to use my little tweezers here to push out my corner carefully. You can take the time to take this to the iron and press it if you want, and then get a nice crisp edge.
And I noticed, when you're doing something like that, you don't have to worry about starting and stopping like we did, like you were showing people, because it's going to be inside. It's
This
not
is
going to have any
inside, and then
stress.
this is actually going to
Gonna
get
be
sewn to the back.
So just realize that, everyone, that start stop really is for like a shoulder seam or
Yeah.
something that's really
Or
gonna,
the finishing
or the finishing on like our
touch.
little,
Yeah.
on our little bag here.
So now I'm going to put this aside real quick, and I'm going to put this on a red this time, and I'm just going to sew down the one side.
And this is different, right?
This is a
Than the-
little
different
different
than the
In
instructions.
the last one
so-
in the instructions. So we'll just kind of watch and we'll discuss the differences here in a second.
Okay.
I'm going to put the needles down, pull my little threads and flip them up and around. So I think, well, let me look at that helps. And lift it. There we go. Slide it up under, put that foot back down.
Really at the end, because you're gonna box the corner, there isn't a need to finish off that end. Yeah.
So I've got my one side sewn, but before I sew the other side, now in the instructions, I went ahead and sewed both sides. And then I put the little cuff down in the back. And you can follow those instructions because then you can take this little side arm off and you can sew around the side arm. So the reason I showed that in the instructions was so you could learn to use that little side arm piece, right?
So your little free arm. for
Free
your-
arm,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So that's great. And that's one of the nice things. Not all sergers have a free arm,
No.
Bethany. So that's
It's
great
nice
for the
that this one
ProFinish,
does because it
yeah.
makes doing like cuffs and hemming, pants or anything
Yeah.
like that, the smaller areas, really easy. But a way to do this cuff without having to take that off and do that is we're going to lay this flat. You guys see this down here? I'll tilt my camera down. bear with me for just a second. I do need to use the table for this. All right, so I'm gonna lay this open with my seam up. I'm gonna take my cuff here and I'm going to lay it across the top. And I'm going to serge these two pieces together all the way across here. Now you can clip it if you need to. And if you notice that this cuff is longer than your fleece, you can flip it back inside out. I did this earlier and just serge it a little shorter. But we are right on target today. So we're gonna sew this right along here with that same stitch, and then we'll finish our bag. So let me push my corners out again so they look nice. Do we have any questions? I know I'm showing you all a different way to do it than the instructions this time. So take some notes. All right.
I just think this is so cute.
All right, so we're gonna leave it. It's a lot easier, and Sonny was explaining this to me earlier today. It's so much easier for a serger to sew straight.
Yeah,
Flat.
flat construction.
and straight.
Any flat construction is
Yes.
easier on a serger, so.
I'm gonna bring this back in so you guys can see what I'm doing. There we go. Cool, and we'll lift this up. The needles aren't up all the way. There we go. You don't have to trim anything off, but it's okay if you do a little bit. You stop and adjust your fabric if you need to. Take your time. It sews right over that seam perfectly. I'm gonna trim this. Now we have our little cuff sewn on. And now we want to fold it in half again because we need to sew down this side. Again, it's still wrong side out, okay?
And Bethany, I know that I actually loved how you have, it looks like a little collar.
Uh-huh.
So you're not gonna sew the one
This
part,
end is
but-
not going to get, these cuffs right here are going to stay fan
Yeah.
open. I just feel like
Okay.
it makes it have
I
a
think
little
it's
more
really
flair.
cute. Yeah, I think it's really cute. I
So
would
I'll
have
show you
ended up
how I do that, but we're
having
going to
to sew it together. so
start at
that's
this
cool.
end. I started at the bottom this time because I wanted to show you guys the end here. Up, lift our foot, slack our needles here a little bit. There we go. Pull it out. There we go. It's stuck on my little stitch finger. I'm doing it from a weird angle, so just bear with me for a second. There we go. I'm gonna flip it. And this foot has an extra lift, which is so nice. Put it back under here. Put back down. We're gonna do our little stitch back across the nose.
Love the stitch and swing.
Stitch and swing. It's a little tricky. You got to fold that cuff up so you don't sew the cuff because we want to leave it open on one side. Okay. And now we're going to do our little box bottoms real quick. So I will demonstrate the box bottoms one more time for you guys. I'm going to do it real fast so you can, without making a puppet, you can just pull them like this. And I'll put my marker away.
You know, I always feel, Bethany, the minute I put something away is when I need
When
it.
you need it
So,
again.
at a certain point, it's kind of like, okay.
It's rulers, scissors,
Yep,
glasses.
glasses, exactly.
I really need to see that better. All right, so I'm just gonna do my little mark. Both sides.
And box corners like this, not only for this little, the little bottle bag, but
Mhm.
also this is the same way you would do a box corner for a purse or for
I did another
whatever.
project with box
Yeah.
bottoms. I did
Yeah.
our little, I'm using it today, my little thread
Oh,
catcher
that's right.
bag
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
did back in September. It has box bottoms.
yeah.
Same
It
thing.
is super handy. I always, it's now my must-have bring to the office when we sew together.
Yeah,
Or else I get threads all over the floor. All right, so needles up. There we go.
and I have to say that, that ProFinish, this serger has gone right over the thicknesses.
It
and
is,
the-
and that seam that we
And
did
the
earlier.
seam and the fleece. I was really impressed with how nice it serged for everything that we've been doing. So that's great.
There's our bottoms.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna zoom out. I'm gonna tilt this up a little bit. Plain must face. This is my favorite part when we turn it right side out
Yeah.
and show the finished.
I always feel like at this point I want to say ta-da.
Ta-da. So I'm gonna push my little corners out. Now this is what it looks like. You can see the seam, but remember our cuff folds down
That is so cool.
and it flares open in the back.
Yeah, that's
And it ends up
so,
like
so
this.
cute. So really wonderful.
And then you can still finish it off with a bow to tie it tight around the neck of the bottle. But that
Yeah.
little cuff hides our little seam.
yeah, that's great. I still think I want a little button and buttonhole on
You
it.
could totally button this up.
So it looks like a little collar.
yes, you could totally button it up. You could also sew this so it goes closed and it doesn't flare out.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's totally up to you, but I mean, we just did a whole nother bag in just a couple of minutes. It's so easy.
I was watching the time, Bethany, and you did that in about 10 minutes. So
And
that
I was
pretty
talking
quick.
through
Yeah,
it. Normally, if
so
I'm
it's
just in the
great.
zone and I'm sewing and,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not demonstrating, I can fly through it even faster. So
Yeah.
do you want to go back to
Yeah.
your camera,
Oh,
camera
let's go
two?
to camera two for
Okay.
a minute. And
So we've made 2 of these, and now Sonny's going to show us a way to dress them up a little
Yeah.
more. We always like to show the extra.
we do. I think it's really cool. So what we had done, remember, we had the rolled edge, and that was using the right needle and no stitch finger. And we're going to do something different. And what we're going to do that is different, sorry, I gotta go across the camera, is we're actually going to use a flat lock. And flat lock and serging is, you know, usually you're serging along an edge. So how do you sew in the middle of something? And Bethany made this little guy, and I have to
Those like little
smile.
candy
Yeah,
stripes.
candy stripes, little candy canes for that. So flat locking is truly a really great decorative stitch for a serger. Most sergers can do this, some better than others. The ProFinish did a great job for us. While Bethany was sewing, guys, what I did, just so you know, is I moved from the right, using the right needle, I moved my needle to the left. So I just went from the right to the left, basically from A to B on our ProFinish. Now, here is the little list of things that we want to do for a flat lock. So again, we are using the left needle. This will give us a wider flat lock. So you want the left needle, and we're going to be changing, and I'm going to explain this here in a minute, but we're going to be changing our left needle tension and making it low. The upper looper, we're going to remain at normal, and the lower looper is going to be high. And then stitch length and differential feed both at normal. Normally around a 3. I mean, it depends a little bit on your stitch that you want, how the look that you want, and what thread you're using. So flat lock this time. So again, I already set this up. I want to make sure, again, I didn't write this down, but the stitch finger, you want it engaged. So you want a wider stitch. So you want the stitch finger on when you are working with a flat lock stitch. So go ahead. I'm going to take my needle tension low. So I'm going to take my needle tension low here. I took it all down between 1 and 2. My lower looper is going to be high. I'm going to take that back up to around an 8. And what this is going to do, and I'm just going to show a little, an example here as well, is when you're sewing your stitch, this should look familiar. It looks like a regular overlock stitch. When you open it up, we're going to open it, and you'll see the needle tension actually the needle thread is what you see on the back, and this is what we call a ladder stitch. And some people like to use this decoratively. And then the lower looper thread is like, it's almost like a straight stitch right along the edge. So let's do this. And I'm just going to sew.
But you don't want to cut things off on this,
That's
right?
right, you don't. So what I'm gonna do is I just folded this just a little piece over. Okay, so I folded a little piece over and, sorry, I just hit the camera. What I think I'll do is I'm gonna lower my camera just a little bit, if I can, easily. There we go. So hopefully you can see this a little bit better. And then I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit too. So let's see if we can get a good shot of that. I think
This
that's
is probably one of my favorite new stitches that you taught me to do on a serger. I mean, this is, and then
it's
I
really
went
cool.
wild with it and made a whole bag with,
Yeah,
with it.
definitely, definitely. So again, as Bethany said, I have the fold of my fabric is right up, just right along the blade. So the fold of the fabric, right along the blade,
But not cutting.
but I'm not cutting. That's exactly
want that
it.
fold.
So just one, you do want to fold. And I'm trying to keep my hands out of the way here, guys. So hopefully I did an okay job. And you will see there are a few loops off the edge, but that's okay in this case, because here's the magic of a flat
That's
lock.
my favorite
right?
part.
Yeah, this is. So I want to make sure you can see it. Here's the magic, is we're actually going to open up
And spread it out.
and spread it out. And now you're serging in the middle of fabric, which is so cool. The lower looper thread is right along that edge. That is the upper looper thread that you're seeing. And then on the back, which the flat lock or the ladder stitch, if I come in, see why we call it a ladder stitch. It looks like little ladder rungs. That ladder stitch, that's your needle thread, everyone. So you do not see the lower looper thread. You do see the upper looper thread here. All right, so
Yeah.
you do see the upper looper thread here. And then that back is your needle thread that you're seeing.
So this is really a 2-for-1 stitch.
It-
just depending on which way what you want to be facing out on your finished project.
Exactly. So I was showing this earlier. We did this, we played around with this, but check this out, everyone. Again, I'll try and get in a little bit closer. This is a very heavy thread. And
Like a
that
cord.
thread, yeah, it is. It's, if you can see up here, it's like a cord, right? It is definitely like a
sparkle.
cord, got a little sparkle. And that is in the upper looper, okay? So if you want that decorative thread, that heavy decorative thread, that will go in the upper looper. And that's what you're seeing there. Now, I'm gonna flip this over for a minute because I want you to look, here's my normal flat lock on that side. But what I did yesterday, Bethany, when we were playing around, I used a metallic thread. And hopefully you can see that. So
Yeah, it's
you
like
can
a
see-
gold
yeah,
metallic.
it's
and
a
it has like-
gold metallic
that would be so
thread.
pretty.
And this metallic thread is in the needle thread. So the ladder stitch is your needle. And then I gave Bethany a really big challenge yesterday.
Yes, you did.
Because I did this, but then I showed her, you can actually put ribbon through that ladder. So those are both the same things, but
And
this
I just
one,
kind of weeded
has-
it through every
yeah.
other stitch to
Has-
give it that look.
exactly, a small 1/8" ribbon. Again, you can get that at Michael's. And that gives it a whole different look. So now. with
Now I
this-
have to make more bags.
Yeah.
With the
this-
ladder stitch
There
and
you
ribbon.
go. With the flat lock, you really are expanding what you can do with
Yes.
the serger. So guys, this is where sergers start to really get fun. So if we can go back to the main camera 1. All right.
There we go.
There, that's great, thank you. What we want to do is we want to show you some more samples, guys, but I also want to ask, move this kind of back a little bit. Amy, have there been any questions for us? Are people getting excited?
I think
And
so, yeah, they love the flat.
I
look.
saw some
good.
comments pop up when you were demonstrating them. They're like, I love this. I didn't
Yeah.
know it could do this.
yeah,
And it is a,
the flat lock is special.
It
right?
is.
And you just have to know what to do.
Right.
And that's what it is with any sewing, right? Is once you learn and once you know. Now, guys, try it first with regular threads, right? So try it first with regular threads to get used to how it works, and then start experimenting with decorative threads.
Now, when I did this one, I'm gonna untie it real quick and take it off so you guys can see. But I did do the square bottoms, but
This is fun.
what's fun is before I constructed it,
Yeah.
before I did anything, before I even did the rolled edge, I had just a flat. Do we have an extra flat one? You have a green one?
Where did I just?
That might be
Well,
it.
this
That's
is it. Yep. Yep.
So what I did is I just took this whole piece before, we'll just ignore that, and I did a flat lock right down the middle. So I folded it in half and did the flat lock along here.
Yeah.
And then I pulled it open and I had my middle flat lock, okay? Then I took that edge and I folded it into the flat lock and I did one down this side. And then I opened it up and then I did the same with the other side. And that's how I got 3 lines all the way down the fabric. So when I folded it, I now had it on both sides.
And at
of
the
thing.
bottom.
And at the
Which is
bottom.
really fun.
And then when I did my square bottoms, you'll see that I have one that goes all the way down the middle and all the way across the bottom and all the way back up. So
Yeah.
it just creates that symmetry
Yeah.
real easy. I did cut this one about a 1/2 inch wider because I feel
Okay.
like it does kind of eat up a little bit of the fabric.
Yeah.
And it makes it a little bulkier, but that way it'll fit around any. But again, it still stretches.
Yeah, you have a little bit of give, so.
But just play around with it. And we
Yeah, it
have some
really
other
is.
examples.
Yeah,
I think you wanted to showcase.
definitely, and I think at this point, I am gonna come back to camera 2, but I'm gonna move my
Yeah.
ProFinish
Bring it over
back
here
a
to
little
me.
bit. Yeah, a little bit. And what I wanted to share with you guys a
There
little
we
bit
go.
on a couple samples is, you've been noticing behind Bethany and I that there's a little quilt we have hanging up, and actually it's a tablecloth, and that tablecloth was done pieced on the serger. Okay, so that was pieced on the serger. This is a little table mat, everyone. It's called a rail fence. It's very simple, right? It's very, very simple. And the back, it is all serged. So you don't even have to like use a backing or batting or whatever. All you're doing is letting the finish be on the back. And you can do this so fast and easy with any sort of fabrics. You'll notice we actually use even a little bit of silk in this to give it a different look. So it's pretty cool. And then of course the napkins to go with it, with a great rolled edge on that edge. So lots of cool things there. We have a couple little, I called it a pinafore, this little guy.
A little dress.
Yeah, a little dress. And with this, and I'm gonna just move my camera.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys, I won't make you too woozy when I do that. But with this little dress, the flowers have a little edge to them. So they have a little rolled edge. The rolled edge on the bottom, and Bethany showed you last time that you can gather with a serger, so that is easy. And then these little pieces at the top for the shoulder straps, these are all about tube turns. So you
Yes.
actually can do a tube turn with that.
And I showed that
Last time
last
too,
time
yeah.
on another class. So.
Yeah. And then one,
This one's probably my favorite.
yeah, this is a great little apron, everyone. So this is a great fun little apron. Again, it's all done on the serger. The top part, this is the tube turn. The bottom part, again, using, pardon me, make sure I get there. Is using this is called a woolly nylon. It's a little bit fluffier thread for that rolled edge, but using that rolled edge there. But this is the fun part is, guys, this, it is
Creates like a little
impossible to
bodice.
see. There we go. If I come way in. This is not a flat lock, everyone. That is just a 3-thread stitch. So using only 1 needle versus 2, but then it's like a little pin tuck, right? So, sorry, we did it. So it was made so it would blend in, but you can see it's like it's a little tuck. So you didn't even have to do a flat lock. It's just made as a 3-thread stitch, and it is just the most darling little
I love
apron.
that added little detail.
So cute, and it is. And I'm gonna try. Yeah, that actually you can see that okay there.
Yeah.
So, and you can see how it still moves. So just to get you guys inspired. So if we come back to, one
You
last thing.
gotta show them
Oh,
this
I
because
bet.
this kind of blew my mind when
Yeah.
she showed me this. I feel like she hides these little tidbits and then she just sneaks them in and I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is a little scarf, everyone. So it's just a really fun little scarf. And when I hold it like this, it looks like maybe someone crocheted something or did something like that. I'm gonna come up really close. This is all a 4-thread serger stitch. That same serge stitch that Bethany was using to actually make our bags. That's what this stitch is.
Isn't
Okay.
that crazy? It's all
It's
stitches.
all threads. It's all threads and it's really long and it's all threads. So I was showing Bethany earlier how this was done. You start with, usually what I start with is a water soluble stabilizer. This is kind of one of my favorites. It looks like fabric, but it is a water soluble. And you sew 1 stitch all the way across your water soluble stabilizer. And then you scoot over a little bit and do another stitch.
and you catch the
And
last one.
Catch the last one, exactly. And you keep sewing stitch after stitch after stitch and row after row after row.
And it starts to
And
create
it
that
starts
little
to
wave.
create the wave, exactly. And for this one, what we did is there was actually a little piece of like a tape, like just a little piece of fabric in the middle. But isn't that just the coolest thing?
It's so cute.
So neat. So anyway, this is my thread, my thread, the little piece.
Yes.
So, and again, so easy to work with. Just so row after row after row. And you do have to make sure you catch it because
Yeah.
if I go like that and it's not cut, then it's gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure you catch. And I got really good. There's a little line on our ProFinish and I'm like, okay, that's where I line things up. So just
Yep.
over and over and over right there. So,
That is
Anyway.
so cool.
all right. So now we can go back to the other camera.
Yeah, we'll go back to the main camera,
Yeah,
the
so
camera one.
camera one. Right, there we go.
I mean, I hope we didn't
Sergers are
overwhelm.
so bright.
I
They're so cool. Well, start, right? That's the
Yeah,
big thing is start with
just
a
start.
bottle. Just start.
We
really.
took something very simple. We added a little flare
Yeah.
cuff. Then we added some decorative thread,
Stitching,
stitching and everything.
Flat
And,
locking.
and then you can
yeah.
do some decorative threads in with that
Yeah.
if you want. I mean, there's so many places to go. That's what I think I love so much about the Serger is the
Yeah.
versatility.
Yeah.
And it's fast.
And it's fast.
I like to
and-
do quick
Yeah.
projects that I can, it's just like
Yeah.
quick gratification. I'm like, look what I just made.
Yeah.
This looks so cool. So
Definitely. So I think it's great. And sergers, I cannot sew without a serger, Bethany. I mean, especially I love to work with garments
Mhm.
and that really is my joy, but
Yeah.
I use my serger for everything I can,
Yeah.
you still need your regular machine, right?
Absolutely.
You need your regular, like we have the M3400,
Mhm.
just straight stitch and buttonholes and sewing buttons and zippers and lots of things like that.
Yeah.
But in general, I do everything I can with the serger.
yeah.
So,
Do we have any questions, Amy? I think they're,
I've been doing good with questions.
I mean, I
Yeah.
see the little chats pop up from time to time.
Yeah,
It's all
okay.
been really positive. So I appreciate you guys tuning in.
Cool.
If you need to watch this back while you sew along,
Yeah.
it will be available on Michael's YouTube channel tomorrow and on their website in 48 hours. This is our last class of this year, but we will be back once a month
Yep.
throughout 2022 with some fun projects and other tutorials and demonstrations for you all. We're excited about that. So we wish you all happy holidays and a
happy
happy new
holidays.
year,
Yeah.
and we'll see you
In the new
in
year.
next year.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you so
Bye.
much.